Celine Kramer was a bright, curious soul, a woman who loved photography, travel, and the quiet beauty of the natural world. At just 31 years old, she had already explored much of Europe, capturing landscapes and cultures through her camera lens. In early 2023, her travels brought her to Tasmania, Australia's remote island state known for rugged wilderness, ancient forests, and hauntingly beautiful scenery. To Celine, Tasmania wasn't just another destination. It was a place to slow down, reconnect with nature, and live peacefully among the wild. One location especially fascinated her: Philosopher Falls, a serene waterfall deep within the dense rainforest of northwest Tasmania. The trail winds through towering myrtle trees, moss-covered ground, and a cool, damp atmosphere filled with the sound of water and birds. Though not far from the small mining town of Warrada, the area feels untouched, like stepping back into an ancient world. Celine, who preferred quiet hikes and natural beauty over busy tourist spots, felt drawn to this peaceful place. Born and raised in Belgium, she had a creative spirit and a passion for visual storytelling. She had been living in Tasmania for several months, eager to explore its wild landscapes. On June 17, 2023, Celine set out for a simple walk to Philosopher Falls. It wasn't considered a difficult trail, but Tasmania's winter can be unpredictable. Rain, mud, sudden cold, and temperatures near freezing are common. Warnings advise hikers to prepare carefully, tell someone where they're going, and dress for winter weather. But Celine was traveling alone. She was independent, experienced with travel, and her social media posts showed calm excitement. No fear, just peaceful exploration. She drove her white Honda CR-V, license plate E40TF, to the trailhead, and then she vanished. Days passed without any contact. She missed a ferry to Melbourne on June 21st, and her family in Belgium grew alarmed. When she failed to respond, a welfare report was filed on June 26th. On June 27th, her car was found parked at Philosopher Falls, untouched. Her belongings were still inside. Authorities believe it had been there for about a week. Her phone's last signal matched that same time frame. A full search began immediately. Police, volunteers, drones, helicopters, and search and rescue experts combed the forest. The terrain was brutal: freezing rain, snow, and dense undergrowth. Even a cadaver detection dog was brought in. But nothing was found. Police initially believed this was a tragic hiking accident, not foul play. Celine wasn't prepared for winter conditions, and the wilderness there can be unforgiving. When official searches found nothing, Celine's loved ones turned to Ken Gamble, a cybercrime specialist known for working on complex missing person cases. With permission, he accessed her Google data and retrieved precise GPS points, over 40 location records up until 4:18 p.m. on June 17th. These coordinates indicated that Celine had left the main trail, crossed 7 Mile Creek, and climbed uphill into more remote terrain, an area her family believes had not been fully searched. Gamble's team returned to Tasmania months later, crawling through thick forest and using drone LiDAR mapping to scan the ground. They found anomalies, patches of strange color, but ground checks revealed nothing. Gamble believes Celine followed her phone's map off-trail and likely remains within 1 kilometer of her last recorded location. By June 29, 2023, police said the conditions were not survivable. Cold, snow, rain, and isolation made survival impossible over that time period. The official search was suspended on July 10th, though police emphasized the case remains open to new credible information. Philosopher Falls, despite its beauty, hides danger. The path may look safe, but the rainforest conceals rotten logs, deep sinkholes, and uneven terrain. Historical signs warn hikers, even from the 1800s, that the ground can give way without warning. A chilling parallel to Celine's disappearance. Police repeat that there is no evidence of foul play, and their investigation suggests Celine wandered off the trail and succumbed to the elements. Commander Stuart Wilkinson noted in 2024 that false tips have deeply hurt her family, and that only verified information can be pursued. Celine's disappearance devastated her loved ones in Belgium. Her mother, Ariane, believes her daughter likely died in a tragic accident, but still hopes for closure. "I really hope they find my daughter again. It would give us an answer to all the questions we have." Her sister Emily and her close friend Justine continue pushing to find answers. In December 2025, 4 friends plan to travel to Tasmania to conduct a private search with the help of locals, volunteers, and Ken Gamble. Time passes, but the silence remains unbearable. We no longer hope for miracles, only answers. Today, more than 2 years later, Celine's case remains one of Tasmania's most haunting mysteries. Despite extensive searches, ground, aerial, technological, and private, no belongings, clothing, or remains have been discovered. At the time she disappeared, Celine was 31. Belgian, slim, fair-skinned, blonde hair, brown eyes, with a tattoo on her right arm and a nose piercing. If alive today, she would be 33. Police urge anyone who visited Philosopher Falls on June 17th to 18th, 2023, or passed nearby, to come forward with any detail, even the smallest one. In terrain like this, visibility is limited and anything could matter. For her family, closure is the only hope left. Anyone with information is asked to contact Crime Stoppers Australia, 1-800-333-000. The strange case of Dr. Michael Swango remains one of the most disturbing and baffling chapters in modern medical history. It is a story about trust, deception, and the dark potential that can hide behind intelligence and charm. It began on February 7, 1984, at the State University Hospital in Columbus, Ohio. That morning, intern Dr. Michael Swango walked into the room of 69-year-old patient Rena Cooper, who had been recovering well from routine back surgery. There was no obvious reason for him to be there. Perhaps he was simply checking on her. When he left, Rena seemed perfectly fine. Moments later, everything changed. She suddenly began convulsing, her entire body trembling as doctors and nurses rushed in to help. In a desperate effort to communicate, she managed to write a note. "The doctor put something in my four." A nurse, trying to calm other patients, stepped into a room down the hall and saw Swango leaving, smiling strangely. Inside, she found a used syringe sitting on the sink with the plunger completely depressed, something that should never happen in a hospital setting. When questioned by 3 doctors about what happened to Rena, Swango gave 3 completely different explanations. At one point, he even denied ever going into her room, despite both Rena and her roommate insisting he had been there. The medical field is built on trust. Patients rely on doctors in their most vulnerable moments, believing they will be cared for and protected. But when that trust is violated, the consequences can be devastating. In Swango's case, his behavior, as later events revealed, hinted at a disturbing fascination with human suffering. Born in the early 1950s, Michael Swango seemed like he had a promising future. He graduated from the Southern Illinois University School of Medicine in 1983 and arrived in Ohio for his internship. He appeared confident and charismatic, though his academic performance had been average at best. As time passed, people noticed something unsettling. He isolated himself, struggled in real-world medical settings, and showed little empathy for patients. While he excelled on written tests, his clinical performance was poor. Supervisors eventually placed him on probation and warned him, unless he improved significantly, he would not be recommended for residency, a serious threat to his dream of becoming a doctor. Shortly after this warning, Rena Cooper experienced her mysterious convulsions. Over the next few months, several other unexplained medical emergencies occurred at the hospital, many involving patients under Swango's care. At least 5 patients died unexpectedly. Despite growing suspicion, hospital administrators chose not to involve authorities. Instead, they quietly monitored him until his internship ended. By June 1984, Swango was removed from his program, but he faced no legal consequences. During his final months there, he frequently brought spicy chicken for coworkers. After eating it, several of them became violently ill, showing symptoms similar to arsenic poisoning. Yet again, no formal action was taken. In July 1984, Swango got a job as a paramedic in Quincy, Illinois. On September 14th, he brought donuts for coworkers. Many noticed they tasted odd, and soon after, several became seriously sick. The remaining donuts mysteriously disappeared before they could be tested. Later that night, Swango offered a soda to a colleague, who also became violently ill within minutes. His co-workers grew suspicious. They noticed his disturbing interest in accidents and trauma. He often talked in graphic detail about violent emergency scenes and strangely kept a scrapbook filled with stories of tragic injuries and deaths. Eventually, they acted. They tricked him into leaving the building on a fake emergency call and searched his locker. Inside were 2 bottles of arsenic-based poison, one full and one empty. Police searched his apartment and found books on poisoning, chemicals, syringes, and handwritten notes about toxic substances. On October 26, 1984, Swango was arrested and charged with aggravated battery. He denied everything, but the evidence was overwhelming. He was convicted and sentenced to 5 years in prison. He served only half of that sentence for good behavior. Amazingly, once released, Swango found his way back into the medical field. He altered his records and claimed his conviction was from a bar fight, not poisoning people. In 1989, he worked at a medical school in Virginia, where coworkers soon became mysteriously ill again. In 1990, using the alias David Adams, he applied for a residency at the Ohio Valley Medical Center. When his past was discovered, his application was rejected. Yet he didn't stop. In 1992, the University of South Dakota unknowingly accepted him, only to dismiss him when his history surfaced again. Then, in 1993, Swango reappeared, this time at Stony Brook University in New York under the name Michael Kirk. He was accepted into a residency program and assigned to the Long Island Veterans Hospital in Northport. Shockingly, the program failed to cross-check his background with the National Registry, which already had a file on him. During this period, he treated Baron Harris, a 60-year-old cabinet maker. His wife, Elsie, initially thought Swango was polite and attentive, but after a few days, Baron suddenly fell into a coma after receiving what Swango described as a sedative. When Elsie asked questions, Swango gave vague answers and even smiled in a way that unsettled her deeply. On October 22, 1993, Stony Brook finally discovered his criminal history and dismissed him. Media attention exploded, and Swango quickly vanished. Before leaving, he allegedly told Elsie that her husband would not recover, and tragically, Baron passed away on November 9th. In the years that followed, authorities searched for Swango, who was believed to have moved frequently and possibly continued working in healthcare under new identities. Although he was never formally charged for the deaths of patients, he remained wanted for falsifying federal job applications, a crime far smaller than the lives he was suspected of taking. The case of Dr. Michael Swango stands as a chilling reminder that evil can hide in plain sight, even behind a doctor's coat, a friendly smile, and a medical degree. In the quiet town of Risco, Missouri, January 2006 began like any other winter month. But for one family, it would become the start of a mystery that still chills those who hear it. 35-year-old mother of 2, Teresa Butler, kissed her little boys goodnight on January 24th, tucked them into bed, and settled into her routine. Her husband, Dale, was working the night shift at a factory in Arkansas. A long, exhausting shift he'd done countless times before. That night, Teresa visited her sister-in-law's home. Nothing unusual. No sign of worry in her voice. No hint that she was about to vanish from her own home forever. She returned home around 10 p.m. A phone call came in shortly after. Who called and what was said, no one knows. That was the last confirmed moment anyone ever heard from Teresa Butler. The next morning, chaos. Dale walked into the house after work, and his life shattered. The house wasn't ransacked, but something was wrong. Teresa was gone. No note, no explanation. Inside their bedroom, their 2 young sons were found scared and confused, one hiding under the blankets, the other gripping an empty baby bottle. Her Jeep sat outside. But inside the home, something was off, personal electronics missing. A PlayStation, GameCube, cameras, and Teresa's purse and phone gone. Yet her favorite leather jacket, the one she always wore, still hung inside. Then the details got stranger. A key was snapped off in a lock. The front porch light bulb removed. Someone wanted darkness, and whoever was in that house didn't want anyone seeing what happened. When investigators checked her phone activity, they found 2 calls made around 3 a.m. One was to a man she didn't know. He missed the call. The second was answered. A woman who later said Teresa only repeated, "Hello? Hello?" Then silence. Wrong numbers? A desperate attempt to call for help? Why not dial 911? That question still haunts the case. Detectives found unknown DNA inside the home. To this day, authorities have never publicly explained where it was found or who it belonged to. Then there was the note, an anonymous message received by Dale's mother. What did it say? No one outside the family knows. Rumors spread. Did Teresa leave willingly? Was it a robbery gone wrong? Or something far darker? Years passed, until a man named Melvin Ray Hufford came forward with a disturbing confession. He claimed he and another man were at Teresa's house that night, using drugs with her. He said she suddenly collapsed, complaining of chest pain, and when she stopped breathing, they panicked. They staged a break-in, removed items to make the scene look like a robbery, and hid her body in an abandoned home. Her remains were never recovered. Hufford was convicted just 10 years. Many still don't believe his story. Some call him a liar trying to cut a deal. Others think the truth he gave was only a fraction of what really happened. To this day, the disappearance of Teresa Butler remains one of Missouri's most unsettling mysteries. A mother tucking her children in at night, then gone from her own home before sunrise. 2 frightened toddlers alone in the dark. Odd phone calls, missing electronics, a removed porch light, a broken key, and a confession that still leaves more questions than answers. Teresa's body was never found. Her final moments still unknown. And those who loved her are still waiting, not for hope, but for answers. Because sometimes the most haunting mysteries are the ones that happen in the place we're supposed to feel safest, home. In October of 2017, one ordinary afternoon in a quiet Manchester neighborhood turned into a moment no parent ever wants to face. For Michelle Hayek, a mother of 3, the day began like any other. Her children were outside in the back garden, laughing and bouncing on the trampoline. A normal, peaceful moment. Nothing seemed unusual until around 2 p.m. A white van slowly approached the front of the house. At first, it didn't seem suspicious, just another vehicle passing through. But instead of driving on, the van stopped, right outside, motionless. Inside sat a man Michelle didn't recognize. He watched the children play. Then, according to Michelle, he rolled down his window and called out to them, offering them donuts. A stranger, a vehicle, a tempting treat to lure them closer. Every parent's nightmare, happening in broad daylight. But something remarkable happened. 8-year-old Suddy, the oldest child, sensed danger immediately. Without hesitation, she grabbed her younger siblings, 6 and just 2 years old, and hurried them inside the house. No panic, no confusion, just pure instinct and bravery. And the entire moment was captured on the family's CCTV. Moments later, Michelle stepped outside, unaware of what had just happened, until she noticed the van and confronted the driver. When she approached, he acted strangely. Michelle later said the only thing he said was asking if her children wanted some donuts. Then, realizing he had been noticed, he suddenly sped off. No clear identity, no license plate confirmed, just gone. Michelle rushed to view the CCTV footage, and her heart dropped. A man stopping, watching, calling out to her kids, and her daughter saving her siblings in seconds. She later described it as terrifying to watch, but she also felt overwhelming pride. "I'm so proud of my Suddy for acting fast," she said. She contacted the police and shared the clip online to warn parents everywhere. Teach your children to trust their instincts. Teach them to run. Teach them to get help. Because sometimes those few seconds matter more than anything. Authorities opened an investigation, but the man hasn't been identified or found. No arrests, no closure, just a chilling encounter and a powerful reminder that danger doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it speaks softly and offers something sweet. To this day, people still wonder what his intentions truly were. Was it a misunderstanding, or was something far worse prevented by a child's quick thinking? What we do know is this: a child trusted her instincts, a mother trusted her camera, and a moment that could have become a tragedy instead became a lesson and a warning. Danger can appear on ordinary streets, on quiet afternoons, in neighborhoods just like yours. Teach your children they don't have to be polite to strangers. They don't have to answer. They don't have to go near anyone they don't know. They just need to act fast. Sudie didn't freeze. She didn't think twice. She protected her family, and that decision may have saved their lives. Stay aware, stay alert, and remember, sometimes the smallest heroes come in the smallest shoes. We've all seen zombie movies, stories where a strange virus escapes a lab, spreads fast, and turns cities into terrifying wastelands filled with the undead. Luckily, those nightmares only exist in fiction, or at least that's what we all believed. In 2022, a video appeared on TikTok that made people question that certainty. It was posted by a user named Asa Brown, known online as 627, and what he captured sparked confusion, fear, and endless theories across the internet. The video showed a woman walking through the streets of Seattle, but from the very first moment, something about her seemed deeply wrong. Her hair was missing in uneven patches. She wore only one shoe. Her movements were slow, stiff, and jerky, as if her body didn't fully respond to her. And the sounds she made, strange, animal-like howls of distress. People on the street stared in confusion. Some backed away, unsure and frightened. Others pulled out their phones and started recording. From another angle, her face came into view. Her skin was an unnatural, pale white, almost ghost-like. In her arms, she held something close to her chest. Viewers speculated it might be a baby, adding another disturbing layer to the mystery. As she wandered aimlessly, 2 police officers approached. They tried to talk to her, but she didn't respond. She just kept staggering forward, continuing her chilling cries as if hypnotized or in a trance. In a follow-up clip, officers finally managed to stop her. She screamed, "I don't want to go to the hospital." She fought against them, resisting violently as they lifted her onto a stretcher and placed her in an ambulance. When the videos hit social media, chaos followed. Some viewers believed she was suffering from a severe mental health crisis or a medical emergency, but others jumped to a far more disturbing conclusion. Was this the first real zombie sighting? Her pale skin, her unnatural movements, her haunting sounds. Everything looked like something straight out of a horror movie. The original TikTok disappeared quickly, but it was already too late. The footage spread across Reddit, Facebook, and YouTube. The mysterious woman was given a name by the internet, the Seattle Zombie Woman, and for nearly a year, countless theories circulated. Was she experiencing a psychotic break? Did she escape from someone dangerous? Was she the victim of a horrific medical experiment? Was it part of a secret film project? Was this the beginning of something far darker? Then, at last, the truth came out. A YouTuber discovered a woman named Kimberly Kasi, and her social media photos matched the same clothing and makeup seen in the viral footage. It was all staged. Kimberly had deliberately created the disturbing scene using makeup and torn clothing. She wasn't a zombie, and she wasn't in danger. It was a performance, a dramatic protest against vaccinations meant to shock and spark conversation. And it worked. Her stunt fooled thousands of people and triggered a tidal wave of speculation and fear online. When the truth surfaced, the internet let out a collective sigh of relief. No zombie outbreak, no secret experiment, no hidden danger lurking in Seattle streets. Just an unusual protest, one that turned into a massive viral mystery. For nearly a year, people were captivated by the Seattle Zombie Woman, imagining every possibility except the truth. In the end, It wasn't the start of an apocalypse, just the power of the internet, the imagination, and one woman's attempt to make a bold statement. One thing's for sure, in a world where anyone can film anything, sometimes a single video can turn ordinary streets into the beginning of a legend. In rural South Carolina, surrounded by dense woods and quiet plantation land, a haunting mystery has lingered for decades. A mother and daughter who vanished 1 year apart, leaving nothing behind but questions and a chilling note. This is the story of Corina and Annette Malinowski. Life had never been easy for Corina. She lost her mother young, rarely saw her father, and grew up raising herself and her brother Leon long before she was ready. But despite a childhood filled with hardship, those who knew her remember a gentle soul, a young woman who loved children, who sacrificed for others, who always tried to do the right thing. At just 16, she became a mother herself. She never revealed who fathered her daughter, Annette, and raised the little girl alone. For years later, she met Stephen Malinowski, a former serviceman working with a traveling carnival. They married in 1981 and moved to a plantation property in Berkeley County. Soon, 2 baby boys followed. From the outside, a growing family, but inside that home, things were breaking. Stephen's drinking escalated. Rumors spread of substance abuse. Arguments echoed through the house, and Corina quietly endured bruises and broken promises, choosing to stay, even as her brother pleaded with her to get out. November 21st, 1987. After another explosive argument over Stephen's drinking, he claimed Corina walked out around 11 p.m. for a drive to clear her head. She never came home. Her boss found her locked car the next morning at the plantation gate, dew still on the windows, untouched. Corina was nowhere nearby. No struggle, no witnesses, just emptiness. A search turned up nothing. Stephen's polygraph? Inconclusive, and the case went cold. Almost a year later, the mystery deepened. October 4th, 1988, 7 a.m. A bus driver spotted 11-year-old Annette Malinowski standing on Highway 32, her dog beside her, as if waiting for the bus. Normal, ordinary, unremarkable. When the bus drove past again, she was gone. Hours passed before Stephen even realized she was missing. By 4 p.m., he found a handwritten note. Teresa is back. Take care of the boys. Teresa, Corina's real first name. Did Annette believe her mother had returned? Or was someone else behind those words? No one saw her again. No trace of her dog. No belongings missing, no sign of any plan. Just vanished. In the year between their disappearances, there were no warnings, no sightings, no calls. And then, one day, a daughter goes missing too, as if swallowed by the same black hole that took her mother. Had they run away together? Were they hiding somewhere, alive? Or did something terrible happen to both? A tragedy buried in those South Carolina woods? In 2000, an anonymous letter arrived. It claimed both were dead, buried in Sumter County, and even included a map. Search teams combed the area. Nothing. No remains. No evidence. Just silence. And so today, Corina and Annette Malinowski exist only as ghosts in the memory of a small southern county. A young mother who tried her best, and a little girl who disappeared holding her dog, and a secret no one ever uncovered. Did they start a new life, escaping a troubled home? Or did 2 people who already suffered so much meet a darker fate? Until answers surface, one question remains suspended in time. Where did Corina and Annette go? And why has no trace ever surfaced? Sometimes the most haunting disappearances are not the ones filled with violence, but the ones where a family simply fades out of the world, leaving only whispers behind.